Hello everyone, this is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today our guest is Tyson Miller. Hello Tyson, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Tyson, we are a few weeks after your fight. It was A1 Combat 17. It was a fight against Sinjen Smith. So, what do you think about this performance few weeks after this?
I think that sort of cliche. I think that what I need to do is sell just about everything I own that's not fight related and move out of the area that I'm in. I truly believe that the biggest handicap I have right now is that living where I'm living, I'm my own coach, and there aren't any other guys that are competing on the level that I'm competing at. So I don't get to push the same way that I know he got to with some of the UFC fighters and higher level fighters he gets to hang out with where he trains. And I think that, well, personally, for all intents and purposes, I think that was the first fight I've ever gotten into. So the two fights that I've lost, the one in the amateurs and the one that I lost as pro, 100%. I cut so much weight for those with the team that I had at the time that I just didn't even want to fight. Right. And the rest of the fights, the ones that I had won, I ran them over. So getting into a fight that was that close, for one, big check mark, right? Because you don't really know if you can until you have to. And I got to, and it was the most fun I've ever had in my life. It was amazing. It was a great time. I'm sure you checked out the fight, right? Like he just missed with the head kick, and we gave each other a hug after, and I was like hooting and hollering in the cage and smiling and laughing about it. Um, he got up and like he got up after I dropped him the second time and like gave me a fist bump, which was insanely hilarious. Um, yeah, man. Those are my biggest takeaways. That and that I can definitely find a bunch of different places to improve. Right, like this is the time. This is for me. I feel like this is 100% the moment and the time where I need to continue to believe that I can be world champion and that I can climb those ranks and get to where I want to be. But I definitely need to change the scenery and a different team around me.
But overall, it was a very exciting fight. You hit with few very good punches. It was mostly left hands, and of course there was a knockdown in second round. So there was a few really good moments for you.
Yeah. The commentators were really cool. We got a standing ovation after. That was cool. I had no idea why everybody was standing up when I walked out of the cage. That was kind of hilarious. I was like looking around at everyone confused. I was like, what are you guys looking at? Oh, wait a second. Which is cool. The knockdown was crazy. Man, that was the toughest dude I've ever fought in my life. It was cool. It was really cool to be in there with someone like that. Nothing but props to him for being the better man on the night. He was just a little bit more. I want to say that he had a little bit more of a plan than I did. He did not want to grapple, and he told me this in the back after. And he did a really good job of throwing all of his strikes at an upward angle to make me not want to shoot. And then anytime we were in close and I felt like shooting, he would try for a knee, which that doesn't make you want to shoot a takedown. That makes you want to not get kneed in the face. Uh, and yeah, and then also that was the first time I got to work with the coach, with my new head coach that was in the corner, Pablo Alfonso. Uh, that was really that was really inspiring to keep going because all of the advice he gave me was working. The shots that I were landing were the same things that he was telling me to throw from the corner or telling me to do in between rounds. The advice he was giving me in between rounds was great. The fight couldn't have been more exciting. I mean, I've seen clips of his corner and my corner now. In his corner, the fight was so close that he asks, like, did I win that round? And his coaches are like, you probably did because of the pressure, but we don't know. You got to keep going. And then in my corner, I asked the same question. And Coach Pablo says, like, you were kind of moving a little bit more than he was. He's controlling the center of the cage. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. We come out of the second round and he says, like, you did drop him, so you might be up on the scorecards, or it might be dead even, or they might have given it back to him because he got straight back up and started trying to command the center of the cage again. Um, but other than that, I think that just, like I said, just being all in, whatever it is that I own is going now, and we're going to be moving as soon as we can. We're trying to get our our little house here up by the end of the month on the market, and then get out there and go chase the dream for real.
And you tried to take him down in the first round. And did you think about this attempt a little bit earlier, like in the first or the second round?
I was thinking about it in the first because I wanted to know what it would be like to grapple with him, right? Um, but man, he wanted to get into a fist fight real bad. I wanted to get into a fist fight real bad. I felt like I was landing. He was landing shots as well. Don't get me wrong, but I felt like I was landing the harder shots. Um, it seemed like when we would get into those exchanges, if we traded, my shots felt like they were more effective. Like not effective, I guess, just like they had more impact.
And this fight was super exciting because of the fact that it was a stand-up war.
Yeah, that and like something in my blood as a Southeast Asian person just wants me to bang it out Muay Thai style. And I started this as a wrestler, but if I'm completely honest with myself, like standing up and getting into striking battles is number one, it's what the fans want to see. And number two, it's really what I want to do. You know what I mean? As much as I should grapple, right? In some of those moments. And I shouldn't say should, as much as I should be able to blend it up. I just haven't had the training partners or the time to sit and really think about how I want to blend them together. And that's been a big thing that I've been talking to the new coach about, and a new thing that I've been doing in training and trying to, no matter what I'm doing, who I'm sparring with or who I'm drilling with, I'm trying to initiate more clinching and more, I would say, wrestling while standing, because I think that if I could blend some of the grappling that I already have in my arsenal with just the stand-up game, as in like pins, frames, hand traps, clinch work, I think it would be a lot better off. Plus, most of my favorite takedowns come from um, like pummeling situations where you're like overhook, underhook, and working for better position.
With no serious injuries, when you would like to be back in the cage?
I think I texted my manager every day last week, telling him to try to find me something in May. I was like, I'll be on weight, I'll be ready to go. The way that we're gonna train for this one, I have a buddy who's trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, so I'm just running with him and training as much as I can in the gym. He wants to run like a 30-mile insane trail run to train for it here this next month, and I was like, well, I'm trying to fight in May, so I guess I'm going with you. He's super stoked to have a running buddy for that because he didn't want to do it by himself. And then also just finding the time to go up north and train with the new coaches. And then I'm super thankful and grateful enough to have a girlfriend who's helping me pay to remodel our bathroom. And then after we remodel our bathroom, our house should be up on the market at the end of the month. And then after that, it's off to Spokane to go train at Warrior Camp with the new coaches.
But probably when you would be back in May, it would be like 4 months like between break between the fights. But I think that it will be good for you, because when you are like lost your fight and you will be quickly in the cage, you will win. So your motivation and like mindset will go up, let's say.
I agree. For one, I think that being active is an underrated thing in some guys. I know that a lot of guys don't like to fight often, and if you get injured, then yeah, don't go fight again. But I think that my favorite fighter is Max Holloway, and I think that what Max Holloway says about the greats getting in there all the time is very true, because there's just nothing like it, man. Like sparring is hard, and sparring is like the ultimate form of cardio. Running long miles is hard. All of that stuff's hard, but there's nothing like making sure your medicals are done, getting all of those done, paid for, scheduling, all that stuff. There's the traveling down to the fight to get there. There's the fight week, because all fight week, you don't want to see your opponent. It's like being a little kid, right? You're going to fight Tommy at 3:30 on the playground, but you don't want to see Tommy all day, right? But it's like for a couple days at the hotel. It's making the weight while you're also there dealing with that. and then also like making the walk, dealing with the crowd, seeing the people, dealing with your own family and friends that are talking to you about the fight constantly, and then actually getting in there, doing it, being under the lights, and staying strong mentally so you can compete at a high level, and then everything that comes after it also, you know.
And about endurance running, how do you think helpful is it for your cardio, for like MMA training?
For me, I stand by it. I think that it's something that definitely helped me fight as hard as I did and as lucidly as I did. I felt like I felt powerful. I felt in very good shape. Um, I felt very prepared for the last time that I was in the cage. Um, I think that I think that it does two things. One, when you have a really good cardio base from just long, steady state cardio like that, anytime you go into sparring or sprint sessions, it's just going to help you. And then number two, I think that there's something to say about the concussive action of like hitting your feet on the ground that makes your bones denser. I think that the Thais don't suffer injuries as often because they run twice a day. They also fight every weekend, but they do run twice a day, and I think that helps them a lot with flexibility, mobility, staying fit and healthy for fights, and then also increasing their bone density so they can check kicks, throw kicks, and all that kind of.
And what is your favorite like distance to run?
If it was an easy day, I would love to just go out and run like a fast-paced 5K through our forest here. So it's like we run a trail one here, so it's very like up and down hills, and it's beautiful, man. We're running through the redwoods, and well, lately it's been raining a lot, so it's been kind of muddy in there. But most of the time, we get there right before the sun's coming up. We start running through the trails, and then about halfway through the trail run, the sun will be out and all the birds are chirping. It's just the best way to wake up because the sun's coming out over the horizon. All the birds are waking up with you. You're getting your cardio in early, and it's nice.
And did you ever like start in a marathon in like 26 miles?
I have ran one marathon. I ran one marathon. There's four small towns that create the whole county here. We ran from the small town here all the way to the most northern one, and it was really cool. It was a fun experience.
And
Um,
what time? What kind of time did you have?
I think it took us like 4 hours and 15 minutes. It was like 4:15 or 4:20, something like that. We took a couple breaks and ate some sandwiches, so we stopped our timers then. Because he's been preparing for the Boston Marathon in May since then. So it's been about 4 months he's been doing that. And then I just kind of hopped on board because I was like, that sounds great. I should do that for fight cardio. And he's like, yeah, man, let's go. The more the merrier.
Yes, I think that is actually a very good tool for like cardio in MMA, and because of like your even experience with marathon experience, I think that it can be helpful. Of course, sometimes there can be some risk because of injuries also, but I think that it can be like a very good tool for MMA fighter.
I think so too, especially past mile 22. Past mile 22 for me was when I was just like the wheels were falling off. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. We have 4 more miles though. We're just gonna get there. You just have to. You know, the more time you can spend, the more time you can spend where your body doesn't want to, but mentally you have to be strong enough to push it through, the better you're gonna be in the cage, I truly believe. Because no matter how hard you train, no matter who you're training with, no matter how mentally tough you are, if you don't spend time there and you don't believe that you can make it through, you won't. Uh, what's his name? Teddy Atlas says that fighting is 90% mental and then the rest of it is in your head. So, and I believe that.
And also, I saw lately that you created a new project. It's your podcast. So if you can tell a little bit more about this.
Yeah. So my little brother and I created a podcast. We both are the first generation born here. So there's been a lot of ups and downs in both of our lives so far. Very, very young to say we've had a lot of ups and downs. He's 21 and I'm 26, but we both didn't really have parents that were around very often while they were working. Um, and we really wanted to come together and start trying to spread messages of positivity and uplifting the people that are already following the journey. And I told him that I didn't want to wait until I was a champion or until I got to the UFC to start doing something like this, because I know we could be doing it the whole time. And I don't want to have to wait to try to influence people to live a life that they find meaningful. Because my most favorite part of this whole thing and of martial arts, other than like getting to test myself and fighting and those kinds of things, my favorite part outside of the cage is I get to bring a bunch of people together for one night. I know everybody's throwing a party, everybody's safe, everybody's happy, everybody's gonna be entertained, and the idea of bringing people together and inspiring them to be better and to do better is something that really motivates me to do my best when I'm in there.
And the
And
podcast
then, oh, sorry, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
the podcast has a really good vibe, a really positive vibe. So I think that that is important, not to let's say like complaining about some things, but it's like very positive stuff. So I think that the goal is very good, and it can be also interesting for the fans.
Yeah, thank you. I also I don't know, I'm not great at social media and like the social media networking part. For me, I just want to pull up and train and just hang out and do my thing. But I do know that the direction the world is going, the direction that the sport is going, your presence on social media also directly affects your paychecks. So my little brother wanted to hang out. He wanted to help. He's always wanted to create YouTube content. I've always wanted to create YouTube content. I watch insane amounts of film on YouTube, and we were talking about it one day, and he's like, "Dude, let's just hang out. I'll help you edit the videos. Let's talk to some people. Let's inspire people to do better, and let's try to make just a better world in our small community here first as we keep going." And I was like, "All right, man, that sounds great. Let's do it."
And probably it also will be good for your like personal branding, because you are a professional fighter. In let's say in 1 or 2 years you can be in the UFC, and the fans can like look back at your content in this time.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple guys that also did it this way that had a lot of success. Sean O'Malley's one. I mean, he's just an interesting guy, right? Like he's actually funny. Like when I watch his interviews, he actually makes me laugh. The dude's crazy. And then also like Volkanovski, unfortunately, who lost this weekend, but like Volk's cooking channel or Adesanya. I can't remember what fight he fell asleep for, but Adesanya falling asleep during like his fight watch parties, like stuff like that. It's hilarious, and people really want to see us as humans, not as just gladiators. You know what I mean? It's kind of a thing I've experienced where if people only see you fighting, that's what they think of you as, is this insane gladiator that goes out and gets into these tough fights. But then if you have a YouTube channel and an Instagram presence and those kinds of things, people can humanize you a little bit more, and they tend to want to watch you fight more or be part of the things that you're part of, because you're more humanized to them. You're not just some figure that's on TV, you know?
Storytelling is overall very like important thing in sports, because like you said, you are just not a guy with skills, but you like can say your story, like your background, your like past. And I think that more people can like look at you and say, oh, I'm a little bit like this guy.
Yeah, and that is the main hope, actually, in especially with some of the stuff I've been telling people lately that I haven't like said out loud to a lot of people, because some of the stuff that I've been telling people, they're like, there's no way. So like I've never had a striking coach that competed in striking sports, or an MMA coach that competed in MMA at a high level until now. And then for most of my athletic career, so I don't know if you know this, but I live in a cabin in the woods in the middle of the forest, basically, right? It's a small town in the middle of nowhere. And for most of my sports careers, so I played football, I played baseball, and I wrestled in high school, and I wrestled and played football in college. And the way that I taught myself was my coach would send me YouTube videos. Okay. They were film breakdowns of linebackers or DBs in pass coverage for football. And he would tell me to watch them, study them, and then do them at practice, which is hilarious. And then for wrestling, it got to a point where our wrestling coach was a smaller guy. He wrestled at 136, I believe, like 142, 136. And I was wrestling at that time already at like 184 area. And he would send me YouTube videos of like Jordan Burroughs and a couple guys like that. They were breakdown videos like, hey, come to practice, come hit this double leg 100 times, come to practice, come hit the single leg 100 times. And I try to tell people, especially the kids around here, I tell them two things. Like, one, if I get paid to punch people in the face as a career, you can do anything you want in life. You just have to work hard, which usually makes people smile and laugh. And then I tell people that for a lot of my athletic career, YouTube has been one of my coaches. And if I can do that, then you can too, you know?
Actually, YouTube is like great source of knowledge. I'm not sure, like 30 years ago, that people couldn't like watch anything they want.
It's crazy. There's so much out there that you can get pretty good at a lot of things. Like you get to the point that I feel like I'm at where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go try to hang out with people that are really doing it and be around some high level coaches. But until this point, it's been me, YouTube, the boys, and my uncle who was my coach until now, you know?
But in the end, results like were in the bad because you are a pro. You fought in many good organizations, so in the end, of course, you can be better. But at that point, it was very good results.
Exactly. I think it was like for everything that we had, you know, and everything that we've had until this point, I'm very proud of how far we've came for sure. I mean, all the way from me just scraping rocks in the sidewalk so that I had an agility ladder back when I was a little kid. It's just like it's as bad as you want something is how hard you got to work for it, you know?
Do you have a like MMA fight right now that you would like to see in next upcoming months?
Myself or like the one that I want to watch?
No, the fight that you would like to watch.
Oh, okay. Well, the one that got announced today, I believe, Pereira and Jamal Hill. That's gonna be cool. I met Jamal Hill when I fought for XFC. The guy's hilarious. He's just a good dude. He's a fun person to be around, and I've been following his career before that, and I've been following his career since then. And man, I'm curious to see what happens when Pereira fights somebody who's very focused on boxing, because what we see when he's sparring boxers is he's a very hittable guy. But when he's sparring kickboxers, they're more leery of the kicks and he's not as hittable. Whereas Jamal Hill is definitely not afraid to eat some leg kicks to land some punches. And he hits hard. I mean, his name is Sweet Dreams, right? So we'll see what happens. I'm sure we'll get something special though out of those two humans. I mean, both of those guys are phenomenal athletes. They're both built for it. They're both about the action. Neither of them shy away from a firefight. So I don't think it goes the distance. I don't even think it gets out of the third round, but I think it'll be very interesting to see. It'll also be super interesting to see when Pereira lands the left hook because the sky is blue, the grass is green, and if Pereira hits you with his left hook, you might die. So we'll see what happens when Jamal Hill gets hit by the left hook because he always finds it. But um, I think it'll be a question of who lands their shots first and who keeps going, like who keeps the foot on the gas pedal after landing their shots. Because both those guys hit so hard that one mistake could be just the end of the whole night.
And overall, Alex career is kind of crazy that he debuted in the UFC and like 3 years later he is a double champion.
Dude, funny story. The only fight I have ever turned down in my whole career, and this is for the rest of my career, I'm not turning fights down because I want to say the only fight I've ever turned down was Alex Pereira at 185. They tried to offer me Alex Pereira at 185 for LFA. And at the time, I was walking at 188. I was getting ready for a fight at 170. And I was like, there's no way. I know who this guy is. needless to say, my manager who wanted to take the fight at the time got fired really quickly, and then I'm now with Showtime Group. But yeah, that one aged really well. I'm real happy that I did that. At the time, I don't think I even really understood how to throw a punch. That would have been tough. You know what I mean?
And I believe that it was a fight that Alex like won by some crazy knockout, right?
Yeah, that guy was, dude. I think that guy was unconscious for like 3 minutes. It was something crazy. It was something wild, and it looked cartoonish. Like he just looked like he touched him, and then the guy was just not there anymore. But yeah, to this day, the only fight I've ever turned down was Alex Pereira.
But it's a like interesting fact, and you will have this kind of thing to remember for a long time.
Absolutely. I make the joke to my girlfriend that when I meet the guy, I'm gonna ask him why he's trying to pick on me when I only had one fight and a couple of grappling matches.
And about your grappling, because I saw on your Instagram that before you started in BJJ competition, no gi, and do you still like trying to take this kind of matches?
Yes, I'm a big fan of jiu-jitsu. I do jiu-jitsu mostly for myself. There's not a lot of money in jiu-jitsu in general, right? Unless you're Gordon Ryan. But in Craig Jones and those guys, it's something I've just always enjoyed, something that got me into the sport. I mean, I started as a wrestler. I was like 12, 13 when I started my martial arts journey in wrestling. And it's just so much fun, man. Like you go out there and you're only grappling, nobody can punch you in the face or kick you. And like you're just trying to choke each other. It's a good time. I just always like to compete in a perfect world. Well, when we move, it'll be a lot easier to do this. We just have to travel super far from where we're at to get to jiu-jitsu tournaments. But in a perfect world, I would love to compete in jiu-jitsu every month and then fight every 3 months and just keep it going because that kind of competition experience, I think, is why a lot of the guys are as sharp as they are. I mean, you see some of these Russian guys with Master of Sport awards. Is it? I don't know if it's an award or a diploma. I don't know how it works. I'm not Russian. I just know they get called Master of Sport, and that's really cool. But I mean, they have a couple hundred matches in like sambo or boxing or wrestling and those kinds of things. And I think that the more you can show up to a place, make weight, compete under the lights in front of the crowd, and get used to those kinds of things, the better it'll be in the cage when you have to put it all together.
Yes, because you won't be nervous or stressed because of like fans of your like opponent. But when you like did it so many times, it would be another day in the office for you.
Exactly, and that's where I think um, that's where I think the great athletes get to. You know what I mean? My favorite example would be like how relaxed Max Holloway was against Calvin Kattar. That was one of the most insane performances anyone's ever seen ever.
And about Max Holloway, what do you think about his fight against Justin Gaethje?
I'm worried. I'm worried, man. Everyone at 155 that's fought Gaethje says that Gaethje is the hardest hitter that they've fought, and that makes me worried because in the Poirier fight with Max Holloway, the shots that Poirier was landing seemed to have a big effect, right? Like Max is my favorite fighter. I've watched just about every one of his fights from Conor McGregor and Poirier in 140. Yeah, in when they were in 145 until now, and I just hope he moves his head a little more than normal. I hope that he doesn't let Gaethje land the right hand as much as Gaethje likes to land the right hand. But other than that, I mean, I'm a warrior. I get it. He's being offered another warrior that's a super tough test, and he just wants to go out there and give it his all and showcase that he's not afraid of anybody. And I can respect that. But at the same time, I really don't want this man to lose, man. That sucks.
And of course, I think that Max deserved this title. Of course, this title it's not like regular title, but I think that he has something from the BMF, let's say.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we've seen anybody else do it, but I mean, we all know who was the first guy to point at the middle of the mat and just start swinging. And anybody that can actually do that definitely deserves a shot at the title that they're fighting for. Because the BMF title, if I'm completely honest, I'm expecting them at some point to do the same thing and it to just be chaos in the cage because both of those guys like that and both of those guys are willing to do it. So I'm almost expecting Gagey to point at the mat as like a nod towards Max when he did it, and then those two to just throw for the next however long, which is going to make me hold my breath and almost pass out because I like both of these guys. Max is my favorite fighter. Gagey's fun to watch too. It's like emotional when your favorite fighter loses, you know.
And outside of fighting, when you are, or even right now after your fight, do you have any like passion or hobbies, the things that you like to spend your time on?
Yes, actually. Unfortunately, I will be selling them as part of the moving fund, but I get together once a week usually and play Magic with some of my friends. That's something I've been doing since I was in like eighth grade. I play I play some video games with my brothers and my girlfriend as well. We all bought Diablo 4 and played it for like a day or two before all of us realized we didn't like the game that much and then moved on. Um, all the Blizzard drama. I played World of Warcraft for a long time with my grandparents, actually, which is hilarious. Um, I used to heal like 40-man raids with my grandma when I was like 10, 11, and she would do DPS, and that's been a fun thing. Video games have been a big part of my life because it's just something that brings our family together and it's something that we all like to do. Like once a week, I go to my little brother's house and play Mario Party or Mario Kart, and we all just check in with each other and hang out. And then I have two big huskies that I hang out with and run around and play with just about every day. And then other than that, I really love training. To be honest, I try to run twice a day now. I was running once a day before the fight. Coming out of the fight, I'm like, all right, we're gonna do a little more. I'm trying to run twice a day. I do enjoy running just as a hobby and an activity. Um, yeah, that's about it. It's pretty simple living. Also, just like most fighters, I love food. So I like trying new recipes. I like cooking anything that we can. I'm super thankful that my girlfriend also loves to cook and she's always down to try crazy recipes. And so it's hanging out with the dogs, cooking good food, and then playing video games with friends and family.
So the time when you are cutting weight is probably the worst part, the worst part of your journey.
Yes. Cutting weight is the hardest part of fighting, I think. I'm super fortunate though. My girlfriend has seen me cut weight poorly and has seen me cut weight well. Now that we have done it well a couple times, she always makes it a mission for herself to try to find recipes that I can eat, but also taste good. And I'm not super upset that I'm eating for the next like 3 months, basically.
But after the fight you can like eat whatever you want. So probably it's a very good feeling after tough weeks.
That is the first thing. Yeah, that's the first thing. As soon as I get out of the cage, I'm like, where are we going to eat, guys? What are we doing? Win or lose, I'm excited to eat right after. And I take about like 2.5 weeks to just eat all the things that I didn't get to or that I wanted to. Have a bowl of cereal, eat a candy bar, all the stuff that I know that I should not be eating for like a week or for about 2.5 weeks. And then after that, my girlfriend's like, I need you to get on the scale. We're gonna figure this out and we're gonna get back to where we were because I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm like, all right, babe. I guess I have to stop being fat.
I have one last question. It's outside of MMA. If you can learn one skill, but of course outside of overall combat sport,
Yeah.
what kind of thing would you like to learn?
So I want to travel a lot. It's a big thing on the bucket list. So if I could learn one skill, I've met a couple people who speak more than like two or three languages, and they say it's just like a practice and learn skill. And once you learn more than two, they said it's a lot like learning a synonym for a word rather than learning a brand new word. You know what I mean? So I don't speak Spanish well, but I am trying. We're getting there. And from what I've heard, it's like you learn that apple is also manzana, but then like whatever third and fourth languages you would learn to speak, it would just be synonyms to the same word. And so learning languages would be a unique skill that I would like to add in there. I would like to be able to go see Laos and Thailand and Vietnam and be able to just speak to the people in their language rather than in English with the language barrier.
Okay, Tyson. So many thanks for the conversation. I hope that you will be back in the cage soon. You will win some fights, and I think that it would be like it's actually quite possible that we can see you in the UFC in like 2 or 3 years.
I think so too. That is the goal. That is the plan. We're trying to get. What I was told is that if I can win, if I can put together 3 or 4 wins in a row from this point forward, then I'll get a shot at the Contender Series. From everything that Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard have seen, because I know that they watched the last 2 fights, unfortunately and fortunately. But the biggest takeaways from those 2 fights that they said were, well, they told my manager, you really have something here in this kid. He's super young. Just let him keep trying to figure out what he's doing and the team that he needs, because when he figures it out, he'll belong where he wants to be. And that was really inspirational and motivating to know that all of the work that has been going in since I was like 12 or 13 years old will pay off one day. And like I said earlier, I truly believe that was the first like real back and forth fight I've been in. And that was also the first UFC caliber opponent I've ever been in there with. And at no point in the fight did I feel like I didn't feel like anything was too much. There was no point in the fight where I felt like I shouldn't be there, right? At all points in the fight, I was just trying to win, or I was trying to figure out how to win. And with more experience, eventually everyone will run out of things that I haven't seen before. And then we will just fight and hopefully just win from there. I think that my journey is going to look a lot like Chito Vera's or like Alex Moreno's. Those guys were in similar situations to mine, where they didn't really have the coaches or training partners or even the equipment. They just wanted to, and they went out and did their best, the best that they could. And I think that those types of fighters are more dangerous because of their losses, because you learn a lot more from a loss than you ever will from a win. And I think that we'll get to a point where I truly believe I can compete with the highest level guys, from the experience, and then also just from the mental toughness that comes from taking a loss and then having the courage to get back in there and fight to win again.